Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. One of the things that can be difficult in the first part of recovery is that when you get sober and start to get your feet back under you, you look around and think, well, what do I do with my life now? And that can be a difficult thing because a lot of times the directions our lives were taking prior to entering recovery are not the directions we want to be going once we've entered recovery. A lot of people find that they want to get into the recovery industry some way, somehow. They want to give back, and they put a lot of effort into that. And you can see this in countless people who come through the program, and it's such an admirable thing to watch that happen. And when people are really successful with doing that, they display 3 different traits that Tommy Rosen talks about in Recovery 2.0. They display discipline, direction, and desire. So I want to read a little bit about this and then talk about how realigning success and your definition of success can sometimes be really important once you enter recovery. So Tommy writes, we need 3 things to reach any goal: desire, direction, and discipline. Desire here is not a simple desire like, I think I'd like to do this. No, when I say desire, I mean a heartfelt desire. It comes from your heart and connects with your soul's purpose. I really want to do this. I think about it often. I would be great at it, and if I were to get my chance, and it thrills me to imagine myself achieving this thing. Direction comes from teachers, people who have been where you are and have acquired the skill you would like to acquire. Teachers have the desire to help you because it feeds their soul's longing to uplift and elevate people they come across who need help. Everything I've gotten has come from a teacher of some kind. Finding a great teacher means you're ready to receive great direction. And then finally on discipline, he says the root of the word discipline, disciple, means student of or follower of. This brings up an important point about disciple. This brings up an important point about discipline. The flip side of discipline is joy. At first, being a student of may be a tedious process. And he goes on to give some examples that once you get through the tedium of learning the basics of something like piano or an instrument or how to play a sport, then comes the joy of intuitively being involved in that activity. So he goes on to say many people have missed opportunities because they were unwilling or unable to show up as a student of long enough for joy to show itself on the other side. And that kind of reminds me of the phrase we hear in AA meetings and other 12-step meetings, don't stop before the miracle happens. For some reason, this is a plague for addicts. Many of us just cannot complete things that require discipline over time. So one of the things that becomes important in early recovery, or became important for me in early recovery, was to really start thinking about what did I want to do with my life. Prior to coming into recovery, I had all these ideas, but I didn't really have direction. I had some discipline and I had some desire, but I didn't have direction, and I didn't have anything tying those things together. And what Tommy says is we have to have all 3 of those things in order to really find any kind of success. And he gives the example here. He says, what happens when we have direction and discipline but lack of heartfelt desire? When your heart is not in it, you cannot find true success in your pursuits. It will feel as if you are swimming upstream, like all the time. You'll be stressed because you know at some level what you're doing is not right for you. Human beings have been trying to learn this lesson for many millennia. When we go down the road of living for someone else or seeking the approval of others, we have to pay a price. Usually we struggle for a while and then fail to achieve our goal. Occasionally, though, someone will go after it with great zeal, and through focus and willpower, they will achieve success, even though their heart is not in it. What happens then? Have you ever known anyone, perhaps you, who has gone after something to seek the approval of parents, other family members, or peers, even though as it is out of alignment with their own calling. You may not realize you are out of alignment at first. You may design your entire life around the idea that if you get to achieve your goal, you will then be happy. So this is something that I can identify with big time. I had an idea in my head about what success in life meant. And it meant rising up a corporate ladder. It meant making certain people in my life proud of me and achieving their approval. It meant a certain amount of money and an ability financially to do certain things. And it meant being on the same level financially and socially as other peers that I had. And going after those things and having those be the driving force behind my life and what I did with my life was incredibly stressful, exhausting, and unsatisfactory, because whenever I achieved a goal, I always had something else to compare it to that was better. So whenever I got a raise, well, it still wasn't as big of a raise as my friend who's making more money as a computer engineer. Or if I bought a new house, well, it's still not as big as the house that so-and-so owns. And I constantly compared myself to other people. You know, when I was unsatisfied with the house I bought, I would compare myself to my friend who is satisfied with a smaller house and say, why can't I be more like him? So I'm creating these horrible situations where nothing I do creates happiness. I can't find contentment in anything because I'm constantly comparing myself to other people, because I'm doing things in order to try to be more like other people, instead of doing things because they're what I want to do and what I have a desire to do. So when I got into recovery, I had to completely realign my thoughts about what success meant in life. And I had to really simplify it in order to get to a point where I could really start to identify with the desires that I had in life. What do I want out of life? What do I want to put into life? I had to completely redefine my meaning of success. And I came on the idea that success, and I didn't come on this idea. This is something that was taught to me. The idea of success, really, you can boil it down to just finding contentment in the moment. And that's it. So if I take that as my idea of success, that I can find contentment in this breath, in this moment, then I model my world around that. I kind of shape my world around that. And in order to shape my world in a way where I can find contentment in this moment, then I have to do a few things. I have to put good into the world around me and have that be one of my biggest priorities in life, is what good can I put into the world around me. And then I have to look at my pride and ego and say, okay, these things have got to be in check. So in order to keep these in check, I've got to keep up a spiritual program. I've got to maintain my spirituality. And so I have to keep that program going. And pretty quickly after just establishing those couple things, I started to figure out, okay, well, here are some things that I want to do in life. In order to put more good into life, I want to pursue some more education, because I think that I don't have as much opportunity to do that in my current job, and I don't see myself advancing much past where I am without additional education. Then it comes to, okay, well, what do I pursue? Do I pursue a degree here? Do I do this? And I just have to ask questions of, all right, well, what's going to help me put the most good into life given the situation where I'm currently at? And once I started doing that, answers came pretty quickly and pretty easily. It wasn't very difficult to see that there was a logical path to follow. And by following the path, it's like going on a hike. by following the path, I was able to just stay in the moment and look around and watch as I walked the path. And what's happening is that I'm watching things unfold before me and around me rather than looking way at the top of the mountain where somebody else is standing and saying, I hope I get there. My path might not even lead to the top of the mountain. My path might meander around the bottom. But the cool thing is there's lots of awesome stuff to see at the bottom of the mountain. And the person who's at the top may not have even seen the stuff I'm going to see. And that's the thing about life, is that once we start comparing ourselves to other people, we miss the things that are in our path. So in order to do all of this, finding the desire, the discipline, and direction become really important, and tying these things together in a way that allow us to have an intuitive interaction with the world around us. For me, it really came down to crystallizing my idea of what success meant. And it didn't mean money. It didn't mean a house. It didn't mean all of the things I thought it meant. It really meant finding contentment in this present moment. And then the question becomes, how do I do that? And I'm very fortunate that I had lots of teachers who helped me figure that out along the way. And I continue to encounter teachers in AA meetings, in books, and in other places I would never expect, who can continue to teach me these lessons as I go along. Hopefully one day I'll be able to, hopefully as I go along, I'm also able to share lessons with other people, because that's the way this works. We just continue to pass things on as they come. And in the meantime, I just try to maintain connection with the present moment, knowing that as long as I can do that, I will have the intuition I need to know what's the next right thing to do. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.